The good clap.
I know, right? Happy clappy. I don't know if you've seen that movie with old Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson, Hitman's Bodyguard.
I think I have.
You need to watch it. I think it's on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll read. It just sounds familiar. Something about it rings a bell.
Very good. Very funny. They're making a sequel to it now. So give it a look. Ooh. I think I can jack that back up to its normal thing.
Yeah, man. So, dude, today I said it again, but anyway, reads.
What did you say again?
So, dude. Yo. Cheese 1000. It doesn't end.
They really thought that was funny.
That's our imaginary friends.
Yeah, I know, right? Because we don't have any for you.
That's why we're doing this podcast secretly.
We want friends. Hit like, subscribe, be our friends. Yes, so, bud, pal, mi amigo. Where were you going?
Yeah, reads. The latest things that we've gone like to tackle and read. I don't know if I must kick it off.
You must, because I kicked off the last one we did, and I took a lot of time there, as I tend to do.
Do you want to do one or?
We can do that. Yeah.
Okay, the first one is a classic and there's a reason I did this. I reread this and I watched the animation. So if you're lazy, just watch the animation. But it's Flashpoint, one of DC's biggest stories.
Definitely, Geoff Johns.
Yeah, and if anyone doesn't know, in a nutshell, if you know anything about the Flash, you know around his accident and stuff, he loses his mother, which is a big deal for him. His father goes to prison falsely. So without even realizing it, he like starts running and he breaks the speed force and he goes back in time. And I'm going to stop there. He miserably alters things, and he awakes and he's got some of the memories, and his memories are fading. And
Well, the thing that I like about it is it ties into one of your favorite movies of all time, The Butterfly Effect. And it's one of those classic stories where change one little thing and it has this butterfly ripple effect across all these other things. And that's what I really like about that story.
And what's also cool, dude, I knew about this before, funny enough, Flashpoint. It's called the Prayer of Serenity. So it's give me the courage to change things I can and the
strength,
wisdom
yes.
to accept the things I can't. It's something like that. And what's really cool is for maybe people coming into DC now that have watched Apocalypse War, they start with the same thing. And that's why I'm bringing this all up, because it ties back to this like original story that basically broke the timeline.
100%.
And just to give you like a little bit, I mean, there's so many things that cataclysmically go wrong. You know, the Atlanteans and the Amazons are at war, like world-ending war.
Yep.
And
there is no Superman or... Yeah. There's stuff around Superman, Batman.
And that's... Yeah, Superman was the biggest surprise for me when I first watched it. Like, he's like the skinny, like torn-down version, and Cyborg works for the government. And anyway, like, I would... If you want to get a quick version of the story, watch the animation. It does it real justice, but the comic has these few extra panels and these few little extra things that sort of gives you more meat, which is the case with most things. But the reason I brought it up is because if you only a movie watcher and you occasionally read comics, this is, I still think, a cool thing to read, because there's rumors, because of the mess they've created with the DC timeline, where Ben Affleck might not be Batman, and now you've got... Mr. Twilight, I always forget his name, and no one really knows what's going on, and there's rumors of them bringing back Keaton, Michael Keaton's Batman in the Flash movie, and it seems like to most comic book readers, they're seeing the signs that when they eventually do Ezra Miller's Flash movie, they're going to do some kind of their own Flashpoint, where they break the timeline, and DC, they fix all the films and create a new... It's a possibility where you'd think that they might do that. Where then it resets everything and they go, okay, this is the movie universe now, no more brokenness. This is how everyone exists, whatever route they choose. And that's why not only is it just a cool story on its own, but I think there's a lot of value for especially new guys coming to it. I mean, for me, it was a big deal. I mean, there's things you know about characters, and it's just like, I mean, I'm not going to give it away, but you'll know. I mean, what the Joker turns out to be. I mean, that's brilliant. So twisted. Yeah.
On that note, there's a tie-in book to this, and what I'll do is I'll actually, in post, I'll flash up the cover of that. But that tie-in I've actually ordered from Cosmic Comics. Again, shout out to our friends and fans at Cosmic, and that actually delves into the whole Joker and this timeline Batman story.
Oh, cool.
And gives you more of that, the whole story. I think it's a 3-parter that's centered around that. And I got it just because I love that idea of the Batman and Joker in this timeline world. Loved it. So, yeah.
Yeah. So,
great.
But yeah, I don't know if you want to dive into your next read or if I must dive into mine or.
I can. I'll kick off with this one over here. DC are bringing out a whole bunch of 100-page spectaculars that are, I think, to mark the 80th anniversary of some of the characters, in this particular case, the Green Lantern, over here. And really, this is, I dare say there's about 6 stories, at least 6 stories in this 100-page spectacular. And what I love about it is each one of the popular Green Lanterns has a story here.
That's
so
cool.
There's one on Hal Jordan, there's one on the original Alan Scott, some of the ones that Kyle Rayner, Guy Gardner, and then
Jessica
some of the
Cruz, yeah.
Correct, the new ones also have their own stories. There's also a very cool one on some of the other Fringe Lanterns. There's a great Kilowog story in here, Kilowog and Guy Gardner one. Very, very cool. I'll be honest, one or two a bit of a miss for me. Not too au fait with some of the newer Lanterns, but still good stories, nice, I think, pairings for the most part, artists and writers in some cases. This is right up my alley because it goes straight to my love of those short stories, those sort of self-contained little things, and there really is just 6 self-contained little stories in there, beginning, middle, end. Some of them are more jaw-dropping, profound, whatever, than others. But, yeah, I liked it. Good pickup and short, simple, quick reads when you've got a couple minutes in the day. So I like that.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, dude, my next one is Sandman Volume 2. As most of you know, I've been on the Sandman quest to finish reading and stuff. And
For quite a while.
I'll be honest with you, I know I might be like dressing this up too much, but there's like these times in the day where like I get home and like we keep like a lot of the lights on and only like ambient lights, and it's like, and it sets the mood for me to like really get lost in Sandman. But and it's like the perfect time to read it. But sometimes the problem is, with some reading, like there's a lot going around, and it's exactly what I said in one of the previous videos where you've turned like 2 or 3 pages and you're like, wait, what? And you catch yourself daydreaming because you're so like lost.
Yeah.
So I feel like there is a bit that I need to reread, but I don't want to give too much away but I think people should read it. Like, this is centered around the dollhouse sort of storyline, and there's this whole thing around Dream meeting another Vortex, which is this young girl. And there's this whole like twist where she passes on to her grandmother, and then it was all not Destiny. What's her name? And that's got to do with all lust and desire. It's all Desire's little plan, and then you see like Dream go like, if you do that again, I'll end you.
Yeah.
So it's all like he's always reaffirming how hardcore Dream is in slow bits and stuff.
But again, it's it's awesome. But they're the endless.
Yeah.
So yes, they have family squabbles like any functional, dysfunctional family would. He gets firm, he gets stern, because I think he is older than Desire.
Yeah, as far as I remember.
But yeah, him like getting all.
Because I think Desire and Destiny are the 2 younglings,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Or Delirium is also one of the younger ones potentially.
I might have it mixed up. But this is true. But yeah, dude, so all around, still there's something that doesn't feel comic bookish about. And I know we've talked about this about Gaiman's writing, and I'm like, I so easily get like. And that's why I want to like listen to the podcast, and I'm excited for the Netflix series because I'm interested to see how they do. One thing, and maybe you can comment on this, which I was surprised about, is like you get introduced to Corinthian in this, and in the audiobook and just in general, people make a big deal out of him. But I'm like, but he got like such a short part in volume 2, and I don't know if he has to come back with vengeance or
Yes.
but it's that whole sort of serial killer convention that you read about and stuff, and that's like twisted on its own.
And that's what I love about this is, dude, he introduces characters early on here, but they do come in, come out. Lucifer makes more appearances, coming back in, out. All the Endless at various stages. I think Delirium has a whole thing late on in the story too. So yeah, you'll
I can see what it's what you told me about, that sort of info bite on, originally Gaiman only had like sort of a certain amount set out, and then so I can tell like that felt complete, and this is definitely more story setting up. Volume 2, like I can tell it's a lot of like there isn't like conclusive ends on a lot of things.
Correct.
So it's a lot of world building.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So yeah, I've started on volume 3 now.
Okay.
So, but like very, very like a couple of pages in and stuff. So,
That's awesome.
but yeah, no, exciting, man. But I definitely, I highly recommend it, man.
Dude,
what do I know?
it's an ultimate classic for a reason, and I'm glad they're doing the 30th anniversary ones, reissuing them. I think they might potentially be a bit remastered in some parts. So it's just such a good story. And some people have said that potentially, like a few of the other great Vertigo writers, it was almost like his opus. Like he came out of the gate with this defining, world-changing, career-changing story, and in some cases hasn't quite managed to get to the same heights as Sandman. And in some ways, I'm inclined to agree with them, but also he hasn't really undertaken any massive project like that. So the little bits that he did for Marvel, or some of the other supplementary stories that he's done, it hasn't been to try and top this. It's just been its own interesting little story that he wanted to tell, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. And I know I repeat this over and over like a broken tape record, but like when when you know about someone's, but you don't know that you know. So like I'd heard about Good Omens and what's the one that you've got, Stardust and like all these things, and I heard about them, but I didn't know it was Gaiman. So and they got darkness, but they got this light chirpiness to them.
Sure.
So when I read like Sandman, it's just like he just keeps topping how dark he gets, and like some like the character, like I'm like, how did you think of that? Man, that's twisted. Like,
what is in your head?
especially those serial killers, dude. How each of them have their own thing, and it's like, okay, whoa. But I dig that, man. And it's just like it's so surprising that such a normal stand-up guy like Gaiman has got such a dark side to him.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love it. So
I'm glad that you're enjoying it, because it's always been going to be one of my all-time favorites. And I think testimony is that you're also collecting the absolutes because you love that story so much. So kudos. I like that. Next up, what else did I have? I'll save that one for last. I'll break the DC bits with oops.
it's okay. It'll live.
A little
Empowered.
a little graphic novel that I picked up, and we've touched on Empowered before. Adam Warren.
How she's got that like sort of venomy kind of thing that repurposes itself, and
a symbiote type suit.
That's
and
what the word I was looking for.
Yeah, it's. I've done a pretty in-depth Empowered thing on one of our other podcasts, giving you the history to her. Like I said briefly, Adam Warren used to get asked to draw sort of bondage-y type commissions at cons, and eventually he just started sewing together a rough, loose story around this heroine character that was constantly being beaten and tied up in all these weird situations, and that evolved into this ongoing story that is Empowered, and it's amazing. And then normally it's a black and white book, so he does it all himself, draws and inks it and writes the story. And every now and again, he releases little specials, one-shot specials, one-shot, I don't know what you want to call them, but that's exactly what this is. It's just an offshoot. He's written the story, but it's a different artist inside. And it's called Soldier of Love. And in this particular one, the main villain or character, she's kind of like a weird modern rethinking of a Cupid in a way.
Okay.
So whenever she hits you with her bullets or her arrows or something, you just fall in love with whatever characters around you. And she starts wreaking havoc through the superhero community there, where she starts getting all of these supes to pair up and fall in love with each other, to the point of it's that unhealthy, obsessive kind of love. All of them get tied up where they should be saving the day, should be rushing in to help one another, and they're sitting on the side sexting one another, taking all kinds of compromising selfies and sending them off when they should be saving the day. They're just involved in, this lust for one another there.
Okay.
But a cool story. And there's a few characters, like her best friend, a character named Ninjet. Ninjet has some serious issues, daddy issues and stuff like that. And the story does cover all of their insecurities, issues, and you get to know the characters a bit better. So a fun read, nice read. I just love the character, I love the story, and it didn't disappoint. If you are a fan of Empowered and you are reading it, this does link up and tie into it very, very nicely. So no issues with it whatsoever.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So my next one is like literally the polar opposite, and this is something that you gave me.
Spiderman Rain.
Yeah. Short, dude. I don't even know where to start with this because, like, and maybe you can dive in also, when you feel that it's necessary, because it's just like such a big story. And what knocked me off my socks from the gate is a lot of stories start and set you up. They almost set a story up so that the fall, and this is just dark right from the beginning.
He's fallen.
Just try not to spoil too much, but it's like Peter Parker, Spider-Man, end of his road. He's like an older, kind of almost wrinkled, weighed down.
Overweight, if I remember correctly as well. He's not in the same shape that he was in.
I think he's super skinny, if I remember. We can quickly check the art. Yeah, he's looks almost borderline, to the point where you actually don't really recognize that it's Peter Parker in the beginning. And there is a one whole set current story with him getting over trying to come to terms with the death of Mary Jane and all these thoughts and dreams about that. And that's how he copes. There's even quite a real sad scene where, they're making love and stuff and then it's a dream, it's just he's back to his old shitty life. But at the same time, there's this whole government corrupt, conspiracy theory where, and you can tell right from the start, on the TV, it's that over-filtered news. And what's really funny is I like the way, and that's why I wanted to bring it back, where it's the story's current enough to be what are the social justice warriors going to say? And there's in the speech bubbles they're talking about. And I don't want to give too much away, but then you find out that there's this villain behind all of this, controlling and being the puppet strings. And eventually, Peter Parker's got to find a way. It's actually the sort of the people coming together in the city that realize that everything's wrong. And in some way, it's Mary Jane and all that inspire him to rise up and be more than he can be and give his last fight.
Correct. Yeah.
Man, it's like I said, from beginning to end, it's you've got to be in the right frame of mind to read this because it's heavy. There's nothing happy about this story, nothing. And I love stories like that. I really, truly love stories that dive into tragedy that is so realistic, within the context of his superheroes. But I like things that aren't afraid of to go into. A lot of people are like, oh, it's too sad or whatever, and everyone kind of wants. And I like lighthearted stories too. I know I lean to the dark, but it's also because it deals with a lot of things that people don't want to face head on. It's a lot of issues where people hide and steer away from them and act happy, and none of us are those people. So it does resonate with me quite nicely. I really, if you want to read an intense Spider-Man story, I definitely recommend it. And I'm really stoked that you gave this to me. Thanks again, dude. It's but it is. It's rough.
It is. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
But after you've done your little recap, I couldn't help but make modern day associations with the not so recent anymore, but the Old Man Logan Wolverine Hugh Jackman movie, where it's like you say, it's characters at his last legs, the world, everything's just kind of hit him, it's taken its toll, and he has to find that one last little bit of the hero in him to rise up and
and it's cool, dude, because look, I know I admit I haven't read a ton of Spider-Man, but if you think of Spider-Man, he's always somehow young. He never really ages in the comic. He's always the young little mini Avenger, even in the context of the movies, they try to keep him. So to see a Peter Parker like this, I didn't see it coming. Like I said in the first part, I'm is this Peter Parker or isn't it? Who's, and you're oh wait, it is. Damn.
And you kind of go, what the hell's happened to get him to this point?
Yeah.
Over here? Great story. I'm glad you read it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. My next one, and I saved this one for last because, in my opinion, it was the best out of all the ones that I did read, is another one of those 80th anniversary
Nice.
comics, and it's the Joker one. And wow. I've got to say, again, there's probably 6 or 7 stories in here. There's a Snyder one, a Tinian one, all of those kinds of things. Wow. I think there's a Azzarello one in there. There's just so many different ones, and all good Joker writers. Again, I think I'm mostly happy with the pairings, artist to writer. I think there's a Snyder paired with Jock. Good story. Dark look at the Joker. Very dark. And it's not so much a look at the Joker, but it's yeah, I think the best way I can describe Snyder's one is it's a horror.
Sure.
Snyder's done a few horror stories, and it's up there, dude. The story's kind of centered around not so much the Joker himself, but the effect he has on his victims. And this dude, delves into this therapist who's just trying to help Joker victims get past what's happened to them. And it's got a hectic horror type ending. Sure. I thought it was amazing. Brilliant. The James Tynion story in there, for those that don't know, currently James Tynion is writing Batman and Detective, I think. Definitely the one. And he's recently introduced this new character, Punchline.
I think he even did a bit of Justice League Dark, if I'm not mistaken.
Quite possible. But the latest one that everyone's talking and raving about is not so much the designer in the story, but Punchline, Joker's new sidekick, herald, partner, whatever you want to call her. And Tynion's story in there is kind of like a Punchline origin story.
Okay.
You literally see the birth of Punchline. Very well told story as well. Girl in college. Right from the get-go, he sets the scene that she's obsessed with the Joker. And he kind of makes this whole story. She has like a little monologue at one point where she kind of says, you know, it's if you want to know who's to blame for me and this and all that's happened, it's you, it's my parents, it's social media, it's everything, because
it's
all
not
of
one
you,
single thing, yeah.
Correct. And she says, all of you have told my generation that we can be anything we want to be. The world is at our fingertips. You can do and be whomever you want to be. And she says, but none of you ever thought of, or actually one step further, can't handle the fact that what happens if I want to be this? What if I want to be a psychopath? You know, all of you think it's going to be, I want to be president, or I want to be the next woman's lib figurehead, whatever. But what if I want to be a psychopath?
Jeez.
And while this whole thing's going on and monologuing, there's a whole little twist there. But you see her become Punchline, and she basically says, like, you know, if that is the joke, if that's the grand joke here, then I'm the Punchline.
Sure.
And it's like, wow.
That's heavy, dude. And it's quite interesting. What's quite cool is that in some weird way it ties into my last read.
Okay.
That I want to talk about. But I got told to read this from a comic book store, and at the time, it's Batman White Knight. It's a bit old now. It's Sean Murphy.
Yeah.
And I got told to read it, but I thought it was, you know, I mean this in the polite way, but I thought it was just typical salesman. You got to read this the next Batman.
You like Batman, therefore.
Yeah.
Got you.
Dude, and I got it, and like, I don't even know, like, I could do a whole podcast on this story, but the art, the flow, let's just maybe get a little bit here, like the paneling and stuff. But I'm going to try and keep as brief as I can. I think
there's some nice paneling.
We're running...
Sure. Nice pacing, multiple panels for speed, and then bigger, longer panels for nice. Yeah.
But the premise of the story sounds really like cheesy but there's something he does with this dude. So in a nutshell, you get introduced into Batman being locked up in Arkham. He seems like this villain. No one understands why. And Joker walks in. Joker's completely normal. He's like, and then it starts trailing back. And what you see is this whole scene where Joker sets him up on this path, and because Batman's so emotional, and there's reasons for that are merited and stuff, I won't go into it, but he almost knocks over a police officer and this and that and that. And then when he gets hold of him, Joker finds a way to turn all the media on him, and it just shows how Batman was inconsiderate. Batman, used he did this, he destroyed this, he did that, and never has Joker actually been what's the name of anything.
Yeah,
and
Joker's
it all
almost been
flips
the
on
victim.
him. And then what's crazy is you find then there's this Harley that starts giving him meds, and he does clean his act up, and then it's all this campaign. He starts campaigning almost to be like I don't know if it's president or mayor, I can't remember. And what's so brilliant about the story is every second page you're guessing, you're like, wait, is Joker fixed or is this a trick? Is Joker fixed or is this a trick?
Right.
And then on top of it, you'll see that there's this thing where Harley, because it dives a little bit into it, which is quite interesting and it's quite amazing, that he goes back to this Harley, and at the first Harley you introduced to, it's like, no, stop taking the meds. I need the Joker back, not this this cleaned up whatever dude. And then you quickly find out that Harley herself, the real Harley, put a Harley in his place. That's how oblivious he was when he was Joker, and she was just a stand-in. So it made me think of that Punchline almost. Same little girl that they innocently got, what's the name?
Corrupted.
Yeah, but now the real Harley likes the fact that, and she's helped Joker clean up, and she buys into this whole thing with him. But then this Neo Harley, or I can't remember what they call her, goes on her own rampage and becomes the villain of the whole series because she wants to do everything she can to bring the Joker back out. And it's this whole story that like escalates because, and this is where you start second guessing, because cleaned up Mr. Joker, I can't remember what they use his name as. Man, it's Jack something.
Yeah. Napier?
Yeah, Jack Napier, exactly. And he's still, because he's trying to do good, but in his own way, he uses Clayface and the Mad Hatter to like brainwash these villains to attack on the city, that he can look like the White Knight, which is what the title is.
Yeah.
But so it comes to this thing where, and he talks about how Batman, and he even goes as far as manipulating Detective Gordon, and he's like, but if Batman really wanted the best for the thing, why isn't he giving you guys multiple Batmobiles? Why isn't he opened you to his technology? Why isn't he? And it's a slow brainwash. And he says that they must form their own team, and he even starts sort of turning like, I think Dick Grayson is it? I can't remember. And Batgirl, and Batgirl's kind of on the fence, and she's like, no, and she can sort of, and it's just constant, you back and forth, dude. You're buying into all their stories at once. And
proper psychological thriller.
And really, it goes to this thing where eventually, not out of necessity, and this is where like I get goosebumps thinking about it, dude, because it's what you and I talked about all along. Batman is in ruins. He's locked up and this and that. And then right at the end, you see that Batman has thought it through all along. And he knows, even though he's locked up, Joker, Jack Napier, is going to need him. And he's played along on purpose, even though he's looked the weakest throughout the whole story. And
it's
Joker
like
has
proper
to
gambit all the way through.
Yeah, and Joker has to unlock him, and they got to stop that Neo Harley together. And there's a few other things. And dude, and I think there's another one that came out after this. Like, I don't know if it's called Return of the White Knight. Like, I'm buying it. Like, if I can go find it, it's like...
Well, it's really, it's new. These things are recent ones, so I'm sure you'll get that.
Yeah.
No problem.
So, dude, like, I recommend that you read it, and anyone out there, there was hype around it for a reason. It's such a, like, I couldn't put it down. So I almost read it in one sitting, I think. So
that's impressive.
Yeah.
So, if you liked what Mark and I were talking about here, or just like our content in general,
please like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification for more videos.
And yeah, do us a favor and find us on the social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram.
See you in the next video.